Tubers, tubettes, crazy people. It was a really, really rainy day today here in Valencia. So me and a few friends got together for coffee and we had a completely moronic conversation. I can't wait to share it with you. All right, so here we are at the scene of the crime, Forest Camp. And we've got a couple of my buddies here with me today. We've got Danny.
Yeah.
And we've got Doug.
Morning.
And so we thought we'd just do a little fireside chat, talk about life, love, liberty, whatever comes to mind. And Doug, I got a question for you.
Sir.
How long have you been in Dumaguete?
January 13th. Friday the 13th was our first day in Dumaguete.
Okay. And so what's your impression of it so far?
I love it. I love it. I spent 3 months in Angeles City before I came here.
Okay.
I don't love Angeles City.
Okay, why?
It's a different expat crowd there, for sure. They're there for something a little bit different than the guys I found here. So, just really didn't have a sense of community there that I found here.
All right.
So, yeah.
So,
also, it's landlocked, and I didn't come 8,000 miles to have to drive a couple hours just to get to the beach, right? Or to hear the ocean.
all right.
So,
How old are you?
I'm 47.
47. And how is it that you came over to the Philippines at such a young age?
Maybe it's a midlife crisis. I don't know. So, I am blind, and I went on disability in 2020. And I worked in IT for many, many years, and I knew I was eventually going to go on disability. And I worked for a company based out of India. And somebody had told me once, you can live overseas, you can live in India like a king on your disability. And so when I finally got to the point to where I was going on disability, I started looking more at where do I want to land? Do I want to stay in the States and do a thing, do it there and try to scrape by, or do I want to go and explore the world and see what's out there? And so I have an empty nest recently. My son graduated high school last year, and my youngest. And so I made my plans. I sold my house and I moved out here.
So you're 47.
Yes, sir.
You lost your vision at the age of 29?
That's when I started, yeah.
That's when it started?
That's when it started, yep.
Okay.
Got officially diagnosed, but I stopped driving in 2014, but I got officially diagnosed probably like 2011. But I was definitely legally blind long before I got diagnosed. I got misdiagnosed for many years, yeah.
Okay.
So.
And so, living over here, I've always, I keep getting proven wrong, which is great. Because I've always said if you have a disability, you have a mobility problem, or you can't see, that this is the worst place you should go.
Right.
Because of the uneven surfaces, the crazy traffic, all that kind of stuff. But you guys keep proving me wrong. I mean, you're like the third or fourth blind guy that I know over here.
Yeah, I think I was the first one you met, though.
Was I? Was it you? Yeah?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, because you all look alike.
Oh, yeah, we do. At least to me we do, right? You interviewed my buddy Miguel.
Yeah.
And you, Rob, that
Rob,
the guy Rob I met. And yeah, I did get a lot of naysayers. Fortunately for me, I think for me, I went through training with vocational rehabilitation. I went to a blindness training center, and one of the things was having a positive philosophy on blindness. One of the things they talked about a lot, and I'm all about positive philosophy in my life anyway. Kind of what we've been talking about this morning a little bit anyway.
Yeah.
But
what we should have filmed is the earlier conversation.
Yeah, right. Except Danny got a little dark in that conversation.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
No. No, Danny didn't.
So yeah.
Someone get Danny a tissue.
Say something neutral, somebody takes it dark.
Oh my God.
So anyway, I went to Blindness Training Center, and I was very afraid of crossing streets. We did all of our training with a blindfold on, right? In Phoenix, everybody speeds in Phoenix. Everybody runs red lights. And so I conquered Braille pretty quick. Tech, I worked in IT, so I conquered that. Cooking, all that was fine. But the thing that took me the longest to conquer was cane travel. Was traveling independently.
Yes.
With a blindfold on and using my cardinal directions, using the direction of the sun and everything else.
Wow.
But I took my time, and I did eventually conquer those dragons, right? And then I think that's when I finally got the confidence. I was like, because even though I had started thinking about coming overseas in 2014, I still had those doubts in the back of my mind. Well, I'm blind, how the hell am I going to do that? But going through my training and going through my journey and actually completing those things and doing those tasks to get to that point, I was like, hey, I'm gonna do it. So I sold my house, and people were like, my buddy Darren was like, walk before you run. I was like, look, I know me, and if I don't sell my house, I'm going to be that guy that has a backup plan, and I never actually go and do what I was going to do. So I sold my house so that I'd have my back against the wall and face my fear, and I came over here. I came over here without a girl in place. A lot of guys come over with a girl in place. Right. I listened to the advice. I didn't have a girlfriend, and I came over and I figured it out. I did meet a guy that I met online, and be kind of a user of sorts, but I got settled in Angeles City. I eventually met my current girlfriend there. Okay. And we traveled over here. She's more terrified when I travel than I am. But I think it's because she's afraid that if somebody does hit me, that they would rather back up and hit me again to make sure I'm dead, rather than pay my medical bills, right? I think that's just kind of her pessimism about the nature of the drivers over here, right? Okay. But for me, I can get around. I walked over here. I have the skill set to get around. So I do take assistance when I want, but for the most part, I do my own thing. I go and I figured it out. That's what I went to training for.
And what's your impression of living over here compared to living back home?
It's good. I mean, I'm very happy here. I'm able to pick and choose the pieces I like of it. I think that's about mindset. I was that way back home. So there was things that sucked back home, and there were things that were amazing, and I chose to focus on the amazing things. I mean, look at where we're at today. Forest Camp is beautiful, right?
Yes.
There's and I can say that because I'm sure in the comments people, what does he know about beautiful? Well, okay, I can hear the water, and I can smell the smells and everything else. So I still experience things. Sure. I don't. It's nice and bright but shady at the same time. It's a beautiful place. So that's the way the Philippines is. There's a darker side, and you see the poverty or experience it when you have people come up and beg, and you have like we were talking about earlier. The rain makes things a little bit dirtier here than it does probably in the States. Yeah. Or at least it has that feel of a little bit grimier. But you're on a tropical island. Like, what are you going to bitch about, right?
Right. If there was a perfect place, we'd all be there, right?
You're on a tropical island. You've got you can associate with like-minded guys, right? You can have a good conversation over coffee at a beautiful place in the morning. And when I go home, I got a beautiful girl at home, right? With traditional values. She's going to cook for me. I mean.
Do you feel that would have been possible for you in the States? What you just described? A beautiful girl, tropical setting,
Tropical setting, not so much, because that's one of the things I was looking at. Like, where do I want to end up spending the second half of my life,
what
right?
about bang for your buck? What about the pure
Oh,
economics
yeah.
of it?
Well, that's part of the thing.
Was that your primary driver coming
I had
over here when you started
I had
to
an opportunity
investigate
to work
that?
at a blindness training center in Honolulu,
Okay.
but the most they could pay me was $50K.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
So I could go to Honolulu, and on $50K in Honolulu, it's just as expensive as living in Manhattan to live in Honolulu.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm on a tropical island, but I would have to live impoverished, right? Impoverished?
Yeah.
Poor, yeah? And I would definitely have to struggle, and I would have to work every day. Here, I kind of do whatever I want. And you know, I've got a couple of streams of income, and I do my thing. And I am thinking about maybe starting to teach online.
Okay.
But I can do it all at my leisure, and I can go to Apple Island when I want, or I can plan a trip to Malaysia, or Thailand, or whatever, and it's all right here.
So
I don't have
it
to
may
fly
be
15 hours.
It may be too soon to ask this question, but have you decided that the Philippines, or at least Southeast Asia, is going to be your permanent home?
Yeah, for now, for sure.
For now?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
So unless something critical happens, you're in for a penny, in for a pound?
Oh yeah, I'm all in.
Okay, got it. Okay. Danny, you're awful quiet over there.
Well, nobody talks to me.
Oh. Well, that's enough from Danny.
Yeah.
Back to you.
We're done.
AKA Pollyanna.
Thanks for your input. Now shut up.
Go get me some coffee, will you?
See, I think what it is Danny's always angling for a hug. I think that's really what it is.
Yeah. I do love the hug.
Yeah. So anyway, Gandhi, what's your take on things over here in the Philippines? I mean, how long have you been here? What's going on? What's the deal?
Came here January 10th. Flew in Cebu. Spent about 4 days there. Experienced a little bit of that. I always had in my mind that my stopping point was going to be Dumaguete. And I will either stay there or decide I don't like it and go somewhere else. But I kind of figured this is probably where I would be. I was about maybe 60-70% settled on that before I even left. After about 3 or 4 days here, it was permanent.
Really?
Yeah, I went and bought a motorcycle and just like, and got an apartment and everything. I knew that this was the place that's right for me. And I'll probably be here until I decide to go somewhere else. But for now, this is the place for me.
For now, okay.
Yeah,
but you're open-minded to maybe other places or traveling or whatnot.
Well, I do want to travel, and this is a great spot to travel from.
I agree.
You can hop over to many different places that most people in the world are never going to be able to see because the distance is too far, and when you got a home base that's closer, it's easy. You know, you could, for $100, a couple $100, you can be, in a lot of different places.
Yep.
And see the world that way. Experience the cultures, the flora, the fauna, all of that.
Everybody's got a different driver. Everybody's got a different motivation for coming over here. Some of it, it's because they want to meet a significant other. Others because it's economic. Others because they're running away from something. I mean, I could go on and on. What was your primary driver? Was it economics? Was it because you were looking for romance, or none of the above?
Well, I found Doug.
Yeah.
That's a bromance.
That's a bromance.
Yeah.
Hey,
That's all I was looking for.
I didn't know this was going to be a swinging video.
Yeah, neither did I. You never know with Danny.
Hang in there.
Yeah.
She always escalates fast when Danny's around.
This is going to get ugly.
It's not the evolution, it's the devolution.
Yeah, the devolution.
Whew, I'm all sweaty. So what was your dealio? I mean, did you come over here because you were watching videos? Did you come over here because you were disenchanted with home? Did you come over because it was cheaper to live here? Did you come over here because you wanted to meet a woman or a guy or whatever your bent is?
You're going to throw that out, or whatever.
Well, I'm open-minded.
No, I was here on one of the islands, over in Subic Bay when I was in the Navy.
Okay.
So I had seen the place, I had experienced the people, worked with a lot of Filipino people. I knew a lot of what I was going to be getting into, and that was cool with me, number one.
Okay.
Number two, I worked really hard all my life.
Yeah.
A lot of hours,
Yeah.
a lot of days of the week.
Yeah.
Very few vacations.
Yeah.
I really just worked and did the grind. And I did it to my fullest capacity.
Yeah.
And then it come times
I can
like,
relate.
okay, it's time to not.
Yeah.
Time to time to retire, time to do something else.
It's my time.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
my time now. I get to do something, for me. And this is, of course, a very affordable spot to do that. Spent a couple of years looking at, videos like your videos and lots of others.
Sure.
Seeing what you see, not always just for listening to what you would say about it, but what do I see on the video also?
Right.
What is the landscape like? What is it, what are the, you might say, this is my experience with these people here, but what do I see, how people are interacting inside your videos in the background?
Yeah, there's always a story behind the story.
Yeah, there's always, and I was looking at all of that before I, before I decided this was the place I was going to come to. So all those boxes got checked for me. And then, of course, you're living on retirement pay and what little you've been able to put aside. Mm-hmm. This is the perfect spot for that. I get to live in a one-bedroom apartment, which is fairly roomy, and it's for a couple $100 a month. Can't do that in the States.
No.
That means I don't have to make as much money.
Right.
I can live here on a little bit, you take the difference, and that's how much less I can live on. Let's say food is about the same, depends on what you eat and how you eat. Mm-hmm. Let's just call that a direct wash. And you save so much on the rent and many of the other things. Transportation. Plus, I grew up in the desert Southwest where everything is brown.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And
you're Phoenix, right?
Yep, that's
Yeah.
where I was living for the last 20
Yeah,
years.
so you were Vegas at least at the end, right?
I was in Southern California, was born and raised in the desert.
Yeah.
Moved to Vegas, spent 10, 12 years there.
Right.
Then went to Sedona, which is beautiful there, but still primarily
Right.
brown or red.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not the jungle.
Right. I can relate because, whenever I went on fishing trips with my dad up to Canada,
Right.
and it was just so green and so beautiful, I said, this is me. I'm not a desert guy. I don't see the beauty in it at all. I always thought it was ugly. And so I think that has an ought to do with my little inner peace every morning and every day, because when I go outside, I'll go out and I'll look and I'll pretty much see what we're looking at now, because this is kind of like the front of my house. All this green,
Right.
trees. Granted, it doesn't have a waterfall, but yeah, I'm working on it.
Just wait
But I
till it
think it
rains.
just has a way of working on your inner psyche somehow, and
It does.
calming me down and just sort of mellowing me out, because I don't want to get too esoteric here, but it's just, I don't know, it just has a way of seeping in without you knowing it's seeping in. And the desert used to kind of depress me because
Yeah.
it looked like death. It was just like
feels like
rocks and scrub and a lizard, and you knew if you walked out into it for 2 miles and you didn't hurry up and get back, you were going to die out there, or get bit by something. And so just the environment itself, I think, is a big play on it. So you have a girlfriend. How did that happen? I'm talking to you, Doug.
Oh, what do you mean? How did that happen?
Yeah.
Sound like Goldfinger. We
Dial a
actually,
date?
we actually, I met her at the SM Mall
Okay.
in Angeles City. One of her coworkers said something to my driver.
Okay.
I hired a driver when I first got to the Philippines, and said, hey, is your boss single? And so I came back, and long story short, she didn't even know they were trying to set us up. So I went to her being told that she wanted to talk to me, and she's like, I don't know who the hell you are. She's like, you're a big scary American. You know, I'm a big guy. She's a little thing. And she'd never dated a foreigner before, and so it was interesting at first. But once she got over the shock, and I got over the shock that she didn't actually want to talk to me, and we kept talking, and we decided we liked each other, and just I mean, it was fast, but it wasn't as fast as a lot of things you hear about. Like, I had to ask her out multiple times. We were chatting the whole time, but then we decided we wanted to be together, and she's from Pampanga. She's from that province that Angeles City's in. And I convinced her. I told her, hey, you know, I want to go and decide. I've always wanted to go to Dumaguete. I came to Angeles City because somebody convinced me to at first, but that's why I'd only signed a 3-month lease. So brought her out here, and I mean, it's been really, really good since we've been here. I feel like this place, you know, when we were there, she had some roots and I didn't. And then she still has roots in the Philippines, but she's not Visayan. So it kind of gelled us a little bit more. It's the two of us together, you know, exploring this new beautiful place. And, you know, she has got to learn, she has had the opportunity to learn how I can live independently, and how she doesn't have to be my mom all the time. And, and I've got to learn, you know, how amazing she is in a lot of ways. And this place is, I mean, I wouldn't want to be anywhere else right now. So
yeah, I feel the same way. You don't want to be anywhere else. This is
which is funny, because I watch the people complain. You and I talking about this morning.
Right.
Watch the people complain about being in the Philippines. There's plenty of videos where people are.
Oh, the roosters.
Yeah, the roosters.
Oh, it's so terrible.
I don't mind the roosters. I don't mind the
roosters. Let's get into that a little bit. What do the expats / foreigners do that annoy you, or what do they do that empower you and enlighten you? I mean, there's all kinds of dynamics that exist over here. How do you guys deal with that?
I think that we gravitate towards like-minded individuals.
Yeah, that's what happens is, you know, it's like anywhere else in the world. You've got people, you got all kinds of people everywhere. And you'll end up gravitating towards people that, you know, that...
The old birds of a feather thing.
Yeah, birds of a feather thing. Yeah. But the things you hear and see, you know, people like, oh, they complain about the roosters and stuff. Well, didn't you know that before you came?
Yeah.
Didn't you have that settled before you came?
Yeah.
And you know, watching your videos and other people's videos, the traffic is a certain way here. Didn't you know that before you came? Didn't you settle that out? You know, that this is what I'm going to, you know, you come with unrealistic expectations, you're going to have a poor visit.
Eyes wide shut.
Yeah.
Yeah, you show up and you pretend like you didn't know this existed, when all of us have managed to, I think, anybody that's ever been here on the tube has exposed that. We're not keeping it a secret and trying to make it, you know, like, oh, this perfect place and it's paradise, because paradise is where everything works. And Dumaguete doesn't definitely work on every level, and we've said it 1,000 times. But I don't think that when we talk about those things, we're complaining. That's more of explaining and sharing and saying, look, man, if you can't handle this, then maybe this isn't right for you. If this isn't going to work, do this. What is your biggest obstacle other than yourself out here?
I think that's the biggest obstacle.
I agree.
I think it's the biggest obstacle back home too.
I agree.
It's everywhere you go. You know,
I agree.
Yeah, when you have a certain amount of expectations and that you're not bendable on, you're going to be miserable wherever you go.
Yeah.
Can you find something good? Can you find something bad? Well, it depends on what you're looking for.
This isn't a complaint. This is an observation, and I'm going to share something, because I have guys that write me, email me, message me, and they're really, one guy actually verbalized it, which I respected him for it. He said, Paul, I can't get out of my own way. He said, I've sold my house, I've got plenty of money, I've got the income stream, I actually booked a ticket to go to the Philippines and I canceled it. And then I listened to you, Doug, and here you are sightless, and you pulled the trigger. You came over here with 100 times harder setup than someone with sight, for example, and you're killing it over here. You're loving every minute. What do you say to a guy like that? I didn't know what to say to this dude.
I think that you know, I've said it before, but like, what's your excuse? Like, but people are like that back home in any situation, right? I don't ask that girl out because she might say no,
right?
Or I don't do X, Y, and Z because of whatever. Well, you're shooting yourself in the foot with your own attitude, and you know, if the way I looked at it is not necessarily a bucket list, but like, how do I want to live my life? Danny and I have talked about this a bunch of times. Yeah. Like, this is the life we choose to live, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's the difference, is that there are guys that, I mean, I see it in the comments all the time, and I'm not trying to badmouth any of you guys, but I see everybody, oh, I'm coming out so-and-so, I'm coming out whenever. We'll do it, you know, just I don't want to be like a Nike spokesman, but I mean, just man up and do it if you're going to do it. But don't be the guy who talks for 6 years, I'm coming out in, you know, 2027 or whatever. Like, if you're going to do it, say you're going to do it and do it. Mm-hmm. But don't be that guy that shows up on every live stream just to say, oh, hey, I'm coming out.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right. And I'm not, I encourage you to come out if that, but don't just talk a big game, because you're missing out on something really cool. Even if you come out and you fail,
you're still missing.
Keep your. That's a life experience, you know. You can only grow for anything that doesn't kill you. Only can make you grow. So just do it. Or if it's not for you here, try Bali, try somewhere. But sitting at home in the States, watching us do it. Yeah. I mean, that's as bad as sitting on the TV. You're sitting on the couch watching the Jeffersons. Whatever, right?
We should have filmed the previous conversation, because it really went off the hook. Okay.
Yeah, but
I think we ran out of gas by the time we turned the phone on. Okay. And Mark's over here. We
ran out of punchlines and jabs.
So the camaraderie that we have, I think, just comes very easy, because we're all different. Let's face it, we're all different. We come from different backgrounds. We're different ages. We have different financial setups. We're just different. You know, I'm married. You're single. You have a girlfriend. So
I have a girlfriend.
All these different dynamics. Yeah, that's right. You have a girlfriend. In fact, I'll interrupt myself. Why don't you get into that a little bit, if you want to?
Well, the big secret is.
Yeah, don't tell anybody. What's the big secret?
Keep it between us. Okay?
Yeah, just us.
I did not come here to find a mate. I figured maybe I would, but that wasn't my driving point either. It was for the economics and also the life experience and just living, doing life. I did meet a girl that I really gelled with in many ways. I liked her life story, and it was through friends meeting at a coffee shop. So, things just kind of progressed from there. And I have no regrets at all for my experience in this at all. Everything for me when I got here was just like falling into the softest pillow. I liked the environment. I liked what I saw. I liked how the people were. I didn't have any unrealistic expectations. I let myself be flexible. Okay, it's not going to be this, but it's going to be that. I can find good in that. It has been nothing but a great experience for me. Even people that I've met that I don't gravitate towards. It's all been a great experience. Just like, you know, when you join the military or you join a team or a club, you run into all kinds of people, and you become richer, you know, through the experience. And so I've got nothing.
If you choose to.
Yeah.
If you choose to.
If
right?
you choose, yeah, that's the thing.
If you choose to be open to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
What for you? I know what mine are. What are your guys' challenges? Since you all have a significant other at this point in time, all on different levels. What's the biggest challenge with them? I mean, there's a frustration point that I'll just share of communication.
Yep, that's what I was going to say.
My frustration point with logic or lack of logic, and I have a frustration point with the sensitivity to what others think. You know, we were talking earlier about if I got into a pissing match over here with Mr. Sansoni.
So we're naming names.
Yeah. We can bleep that out if you want, Mark. Little secret about Mark Sansoni, he likes to watch. He's over here like...
I'm off camera, I can't even defend myself.
No. Yeah, you're screwed.
That's the way he likes it, folks.
See, I was just going to say, watch Doug take this to the dark side.
Yeah. All right, let's talk to each. Let's just talk about him for a while.
I don't know why.
Say it, buddy.
I don't know why. I don't know what your motivation is.
No, this is really wrong. So let's just keep doing it. Now we're cooking.
Yeah.
Don't forget to like and subscribe, folks.
Oh, we lost him a long time ago.
Even if you don't.
This is purely for us. Most people have gone, these guys. So the Filipinos, let's get back to that. I mean, do you guys have those same issues with the communication and with their sensitivity to what other people think? Because, you know, in America, if obviously there's not a communication problem. Everybody speaks English.
Are you sure?
You know, well, the ones I dated.
Oh.
Okay, so I would not date someone that spoke Spanish, not because I have a problem with Spanish people or Mexican people or Latinos, but because I can't communicate with them. So, no, that wouldn't be my first choice. But if the sensitivity part is like non-existent, the gossip thing is non-existent over there. Do you feel that same way or no?
No.
Okay, what do you think?
I definitely feel different, but I think the communication definitely, right? I mean, they're speaking, which I think it's awesome that they speak English, right? Like,
Yeah.
That's one of the draws to the Philippines versus other locations, but it's a different form of English, right? Like,
Definitely.
like close
Is it
the lights
ever?
instead of turn the lights off, right?
Yeah, close
Like-
the lights.
like wait me here, right? Or, you know, instead of wait here for me, right?
I'm so glad you said that.
I tell my girl a lot. She talks like Yoda, right? So she'll say, delicious the chicken, right? And I'm like, the chicken is delicious, babe. And so now I do it, and she's started to pick it up, and she'll do it. But you know, the more we converse, the better our communication gets. And I think that we had that. You can have that same problem in the States if you have a partner that's not willing to find a middle ground and communicate. So communication, even if you speak the same language, here you add a language barrier on top of communication.
That's a good point.
So you can have those same problems. I mean, that's why a lot of relationships end in the West, right? Is
Yeah,
bad
'cause they talk too
communication.
much.
Yeah.
Stop hearing.
Which my girlfriend will say that, and I mean, I'm sure everybody is already realizing that, but she'll say, "You're so talkative."
I sometimes wonder if that's not the key to success. Is that my wife has absolutely no idea what I'm talking about, and she just agrees with me. So I'm thinking, oh, that was easy. And we move on with the day.
Well, she started to pick things up, because when she would do, you're talking about logic, right?
Yeah.
So when she would do boneheaded things, I started treating her the same way I would treat my youngest son. So when she would do bonehead things, I started throwing ding dong on the end of phrases, on the end of things, right? I would say blah 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 ding dong, right? Calling her ding dong. It's not the nicest thing, I know. I'm looking like a jackass now, but I fully admit
nothing
that
new.
yeah, right. And then she goes to me one day, and this is what put it in perspective to me. She's like, "What's a ding dong?" And I'm like, and I told her, well, you know, it's a phrase I'll use if you're being kind of a bonehead, you're not being very smart about something. I'll say ding dong. I used to do it with Alexander, my youngest. And she's like, okay. So then she starts calling me ding dong every time I do something stupid.
Right.
And so it was a little, you know, she's a little too smart for her own good sometimes. She definitely reversed that one on me, and so now I'm a ding dong. But yes, there is a sensitivity. There's a different. It's cultural differences.
Yep.
Which I think we would get anyway. Right?
Okay, fair enough. Danny, what are you thinking?
You know, pronunciation is different here in English. And I was talking with a gentleman that actually built the van that I bought, and he's talking about he was on somebody's video, and he felt bad about it. His English was so bad, and I said, you know what? We don't see it that way. We admire you. You know 2 languages or more, and
Right.
we maybe know 1.
Right.
So even if it's not perfect, you've done a great. You know, you've really accomplished a lot.
Yeah.
But in the way that a lot of these words are pronounced, the pronunciation of them, and they'll put 2 words together, make it sound like 1 word with wrong pronunciation. And I find myself looking like I don't hear well because I'm always saying what,
Right.
and they have to say it 3 or 4 times. What?
Right.
What? And then
Right.
I start to okay, that's not 1 word; those are 2 words, and the pronunciation is okay. Now I know what you're saying. But it takes some persistence and patience on their part of us not understanding.
Now, you know what? You and I had a conversation a couple days ago, I think it was. And you brought up a really, really good point, and I want to make sure we make it in this video, is that you were under the impression that when you came over here, that women were going to basically be throwing themselves at you. I mean, I'm paraphrasing here because I don't remember the exact words, but it was going to be like, they're all going to want you, and this and that and the other. And to some degree, I heard that, even though it wasn't my driver. But when I got over here, I didn't find that to be true.
No, I didn't
Nope.
either.
Did you find it to be true? Doug, did you find it to be true?
Of course, dude. I don't know what's wrong with you guys, but of course.
Well, there's plenty wrong with us. We don't have that much time.
Yeah, no.
All right, so that did happen to you, or are you being...
Good thing I use a White King, so I was beating him off with a stick. No.
See now
And we'll be
you went,
right back after a station break.
now you went racist on sticks.
No, yeah, same thing. You get that from, especially from like some of the guys they're kind of selling a bag of goods. I think.
I think
some
so.
Of the bloggers, right?
Well,
Maybe. I don't know.
Let me tell you one thing I just
I
thought
kept
of.
thinking, what's wrong with me? Because no one's ever... No, I've been here 6 years. Well, I've been in a relationship for 4. But the first 2 years I was here, I did get looks from people. But it was little kids, it was men, it was women. Because 6 years ago was a totally different dynamic than it is today. There's a lot more foreigners here. There's a lot of things that have changed. I've seen a lot in the last 6 years. But never once did I ever have any, or did I observe anybody else for that matter, guy younger, better looking, etc., have some woman just come over and fawn over him, you know, unless it was a working girl somewhere. But that's a different dynamic entirely. What we're talking about is the wholesome, they're too shy to do that.
Yeah, they are.
Right?
And at the end of the day, that was one of the things that it still galls me. When I meet somebody, a female, and I ask her a question, and if my wife is with me, they'll say, well, she's shy. And it's like, you're all friggin' shy. And it drives me friggin' nuts. It's like, why are you shy? Well, shy means I'm scared. And I think the primary driver behind them being scared is they're intimidated by you because they think that you're smarter or that their English is gonna embarrass them.
Right.
Or
They'll call it their care about English.
Yeah, they're gonna make a fool of themselves, and nothing could be further from the truth. You know, you just want to say hello.
Right.
So when I met May, it was because another woman set me up with her, and that was how that all came about. Never once did I ever have the nerve, because I'm not that kind of guy, just to walk up to some random woman and say hi. I've never been that guy. I mean, I kind of admire those guys that don't have that much of a filter on them, or I'm insecure. I'll just say, I'll just admit it. I'm insecure when it
For
comes
good
to
reason.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
Look at me.
Wow.
Need I explain? I know the answer before I get there. But they're all guys that just, no matter what, they'll just plow forward, and I see them like, well, that actually worked for that guy.
Yeah.
So I don't know, what's your take on that? I mean,
Well, I'm kind of like you in that sense. That I was not always outward going when it comes to like dating. Now I can meet people that I've never met before and get right into a conversation with them. But that's a different dynamic than looking for a mate or a prospective mate or whatever. Entirely different dynamic. But actually, I met my girlfriend through other people. Meeting them and having a conversation, not about dating or not about, hey, let's get together. It was just a regular conversation, and I start, you know what? There's things about this I like, and then I get recommended, like, well, you should try this, and I hear a little bit about their story, and you know what? That impresses me, and I am impressed by people's stories. Where they came from, and the fact that they overcome. Because to me, when people overcome something, that's something to be admired, and something you can learn from, even though you don't have the same challenges. You come to realize, they overcame that, so I can overcome this.
sure.
You get strength from meeting people like that. But yeah, it's a different dynamic here.
I found that the Filipinos are true romantics. They really love the man-woman relationship. And they really think that there should be, no one should be single. Because whenever I would meet somebody, let's say you're married, all right, and you had a wife, and I came along and I joined you guys for dinner, I can almost guarantee you your wife would say, are you single? And then if I said, yeah, they'd say, well, why? Yeah, how come you don't have a girl? And you answer it, and they say, and what would happen is, if once guys get here, at least for me, and I think for you guys too, is you start to just filter in and you start hanging out, and maybe you make friends with a couple of guys, and those guys have a wife or a significant other, and she knows somebody, or they're sitting with their sister or whatever, and it just sort of like a grapevine kind of thing. And it's where, hey, so-and-so kind of likes you. And it's very high school.
Yeah.
It's kind of like,
Except you don't get the note.
Mary Jane's got a little crush on you, you know?
Check yes or no on the note.
But do you agree with me on that, or am I wrong?
I think my experience has been that way. Of course, I didn't, it's just who I am. I didn't want to do the dating site thing. I wanted to meet somebody more organically when I'm not looking.
Yeah.
Just run across something, you know what, there's something I like about this, and just try to be friends and conversation at first, and see where it goes from there. That way you're for me it's more comfortable, because I don't like rejection.
What about you, Doug?
I think Danny does like rejection. Oh, that's not what you're asking me.
As you turn away from me and say that.
Good Lord. He has been vicious with this guy all day.
That's how Danny likes it, man.
Yeah. Danny was talking about sunshine. He brought up Auschwitz.
Yeah. Like, how did we get there?
That's taken a little out of context.
Not really.
No, we're not.
I said something to him in text. We were going to the Social Security office.
Yeah.
And because I'm texting, I just put
Oh, that's
SS.
right. That was the first time you did
SS.
that. Yeah.
And then he accuses me of being involved with Auschwitz and stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
That was the
dude,
first
Social
time you did
Security.
it. That's
I just lazy typer on the phone. I'm not.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I'm sorry.
I'm not Hitler's child.
I'm with
Come
the
on.
SS. And I was like, oh, okay.
How did we jump to that?
I thought this was the Philippines, not Argentina. So,
How did
which
we
is
get
another
there?
good place to go and live if you guys want to.
If you like the SS.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. So what was your question?
I don't know.
Before I
I have no clue.
We're going to pause and rewind this. And
before I derail
where
yet
we
another
are.
conversation,
Well, we were talking about Filipinos, meeting Filipinos. We were talking about.
I think it's better to do it a little bit more organically.
Yeah.
And it will happen, and I had heard
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
You know, I will admit, talk to some girls on dating websites before I got here. But it was once I'd already booked my ticket. So I knew I was coming.
right.
And that's when I was like, you know, I could talk. But, you know, if I knew I was 3 years out, you know, I mean, there's a lot of guys that just string these girls along. Just as much as they say that they're scammers the other way, too.
Amen to
There's
that.
these guys
Right.
that tell these girls, hey, I'm coming out in October. Oh, now I can't come out in October.
Amen
I'm coming
to
out
that.
in January. And they just string these girls along. And, you know, you're talking about they are in love with the man, woman. Filipinos are in love with being in love, right?
They are romantics. I'm telling you, to the
Yeah.
nth degree.
You know, I remember hearing an expat talk about, had like 3 or 4 girls that he was going to meet once he got here.
Yeah.
And then for him, it became a scheduling problem.
Yeah.
It's like, man, to me, that's not a good approach.
Right.
I think it's okay to date.
I do too.
Right,
I
but
just don't think
But they were all expecting, you know, to see you like right away, and
because I told my girl when I got with her, she actually asked me, and I told her, yeah, I'm talking to a couple other girls. I was honest with her. But you know what, after a week or so,
Right.
after our first date, and then like, you know, I started to catch feelings for her, and I told her, I said, I know that I actually had a trip scheduled to go see another girl somewhere, which she reminds me about all the time. She reminded me again on our Munsery last week. But I actually had a trip scheduled to go meet another girl that I'd been talking to before I got with her.
Right.
And I told her, you know, I don't feel comfortable going on this trip without telling you. And I've decided I don't want to go on this trip because you're the girl I want to be with.
Okay.
I was honest. And I think I think it's fine to date multiple girls, but don't be a shitbag. You know, don't set up, or don't lie. Don't be dishonest with your intentions. As long as you're honest, though, even if you're dating multiple girls, be honest with them.
Sure.
And they are adults, contrary to what other people say. They are more worldly than they, at least they understand trials within relationships and so forth, and they've seen plenty of heartache themselves.
Sure.
Or they've seen it within their family.
They grow up faster.
So set them up with realistic expectations. Hey,
yeah, not
I do
you're the
really
one
like
for me.
you. Yeah, don't blow
Don't tell
smoke
5
up their
girls
ass.
you're the one for me.
But you know, that's
The truth always works, and you don't have to try to remember anything.
yep.
You know, whenever you tell a lie, then you got to tell another lie, and then another lie, and then another lie, and it just turns into a circle jerk. So I agree with you wholeheartedly. And the whole online thing, I've always been anti-online. Because I think it's cool to go online and chat and make friends and glean information and talk.
Right.
But if you told the woman or guy, whoever you're talking to, I'm not interested in a romance thing, but I enjoy talking to you. I'd like to learn about your culture.
The old pen pal thing.
I'll help you with English. Maybe we can do that. But all these transactional things where I hear these guys are sending thousands of dollars and blah, blah, blah to someone they've never met in person. And then they say, I got scammed. And I'm thinking, no, you didn't. You know, what poor person or anybody would turn down your money? Why are you throwing money at them for doing this?
Yeah, you didn't get scammed.
Yeah.
You played along.
Yeah, it's your fault, pal. You could have just
You
leveled
made a
with them.
choice.
And then they get mad because they meet the woman and she's not what she proclaimed to be. And I got this whole theory that the best way to do it over here is before you come over, if you want to chat with somebody on that level, I think it's just fine. But to me, I think the perfect setup is to buy your plane ticket, land. Get yourself settled in for a week, 2 weeks, a month, whatever it takes. Get the lay of the land. See if you even like it here. Because you made a statement earlier. some guys come over here and they don't like it. It's not a fail. It's a success. You mentioned bucket list. My bucket list is to try Southeast Asia. You come over here to Dumaguete or wherever you go, Japan or you name it, and you don't like it. You don't like the culture. You don't like the food. You don't like the language. You don't like this. Well, okay, big deal. You get a plane ticket and you go back home and you regroup and think and go to plan B. I think that if a guy comes over here and romance is on his mind, that's great. But come in, get settled in, have a base camp set up, get acclimated, understand your banking, understand your transportation, know where you're living, and then just go on Facebook or a dating site if you so desire, and now you're already here. And you can say, okay, whatever your name is, I'll meet you at my place or we'll go here for coffee. And if some woman is when I first got here, I didn't know Mindanao from Luzon from Siquijor. I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know what was where.
Yep.
And so I would meet these women on Facebook when I changed my status, and they say, oh, I want to meet you. I want you to come here. Well, where are you? And they'd say, well, I'm in Mindanao. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know if that was 30 minutes away, and then I'd look on the map and find out that it's 14 hours away.
Yeah.
And so I just changed my radius around to about 20 miles and called it a day. What do you guys feel about that as far as an idea?
Well, you know, one thing, you set yourself up for failure and for heartbreak if you're going to come here or anywhere and go right into a romance without establishing within yourself, this is the place for me.
Correct.
Because you're not being true to yourself, you're not being true to whoever partner you
let
might
me interject.
choose.
What if you meet somebody and they really have feelings for you, and then you decide, I don't even like the Philippines, and you just go home?
Yeah,
now what have you done?
You come in and you cause damage.
Yeah. You've left the place worse than you found it.
Yep. Right.
So I didn't mean to interrupt, but
Yeah, you did.
yeah, good.
Here we go again.
All right. Any last words of wisdom for the three people that are now still watching?
Hey, for those of you who are still here, like and subscribe. Don't listen.
Oh,
Just don't listen to this guy.
Will you stop with the like and subscribe crap? I hate that. Good
That's
Lord,
why
if
I-
anything, unsubscribe.
That's why I did it. No, the fact that we're on is probably going to create some unsubscribers anyway.
Right, yeah.
That was the whole mission statement.
Yeah, that was y'all can
So
quit.
you've noticed it's been raining, right? That's the cloud that follows Danny around.
All right, so last words.
The
You guys
last
get the final words.
Is you can choose to be happy anywhere. Why not choose to be happy here?
Okay.
Right. Yeah, life is what you expect and what your expectations are. If you expect to have a good time or to see the good in the world, you're going to see the good. If you're looking for the bad, you're going to see the bad. No matter where you are, no matter what you do. And if you choose to listen to Paul, it's going to steer you wrong.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to have to cut it short because our voyeur over here, he's getting really excited. And I think he's just,
He's chomping at the bit to
he
get a
is getting ready to almost pass out. So for his health purposes, Mark Sansoni, we're going to go ahead and cut this off.
Tune in next time for Voyeur's first year in the Philippines.